Well, folks, it happened. The House just passed a budget bill, and it's making waves across the nation. This is a monumental achievement for President Trump and Speaker Johnson. It's their first major win since taking office, and they're basking in the glory. The bill passed by a narrow margin, but a win's a win, right? Every vote counts in this high-stakes game. Now, this budget bill is just the first step in a long journey. It's like a blueprint for how the government will spend its money over the next fiscal year. But don't worry, we'll get into the nitty-gritty details in a bit. There's a lot to unpack here. This bill is all about Trump's agenda, and it's packed with his key priorities. It's got tax cuts, spending cuts, and more money for defense. These are the pillars of his campaign promises. Sounds familiar? That's because it's basically what he campaigned on, and now it's becoming a reality. This is a big victory dance for Trump, a moment he's been waiting for. He's been pushing for this since day one, and now he's got something to show for it. Now let's talk about Speaker Johnson. He's the new kid on the block, and he's got a tough job ahead. He's the new kid on the block, and he's got a tough job. He's got to navigate the complex waters of Congress. He's got to wrangle all those Republicans and get them on the same page, which is no small feat. The House is known for its drama, and this vote was no different. The debates were intense, and the stakes were high. Not everyone was doing the conga line in the House. The atmosphere was tense, and the stakes were high. The vote was super close, 217 to 215. Every single vote counted, and the pressure was palpable. Some Republicans were worried about the bill's impact on the deficit. They feared it might balloon the national debt, causing long-term economic issues. Others weren't too keen on cutting Medicaid, the healthcare program for low-income Americans. Remember Rep. Tom Massie? He's known for his staunch, often contrarian positions. He's the guy who always votes no, just to be difficult. His independent streak often puts him at odds with his own party. Well, he did it again. True to form, Massie stood his ground. He was the only Republican who voted against the bill. His solitary dissent was a statement of his principles. But Massie wasn't alone in his concerns. Many Republicans shared his unease, even if they didn't vote the same way. Plenty of other Republicans were on the fence. They were caught between party loyalty and the potential fallout of the bill. They wanted to support Trump, but they also wanted to make sure they weren't hurting their constituents. Balancing these priorities was no easy task. Speaker Johnson had his work cut out for him. Rallying the party required all his political acumen and persuasive skills. He had to convince his party that this bill was a good idea. It was a delicate balancing act, requiring both logic and emotion. He even asked for prayers to get it passed. Now that's dedication. It showed just how critical this vote was for him and his party. In the end, Johnson managed to pull it off. His efforts paid off, and the bill passed. He got enough Republicans on board to pass the bill. It was a hard-fought victory, but a victory nonetheless. So what's all the fuss about? Why is everyone talking about this new budget bill? What's actually in this budget bill? What are the key components that have everyone so worked up? Well, it's got two main parts, tax cuts and spending cuts. Sounds simple, right? Not so fast. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye. The bill calls for $2 trillion in spending cuts over the next 10 years. That's a massive reduction in government spending. That's a lot of money. But where will these cuts come from? Which programs will be affected? The bill doesn't specify exactly where those cuts will come from. It's a bit of a mystery. That's like ordering a pizza, but not choosing any toppings. You know you're getting something, but you don't know what. Now on to the tax cuts. What do they entail? The bill would extend the tax cuts that Trump signed into law back in 2017. These were significant changes to the tax code. These cuts mostly benefit corporations and wealthy Americans. The rich get richer, as they say. So basically, it's a tale of two bills. One focused on cutting spending, the other on extending tax cuts. One side wants to slash spending, while the other wants to give tax breaks to the already wealthy. It's a contentious issue with strong opinions on both sides. Medicaid is a big program, and cutting it could have a huge impact on millions of Americans. Democrats are furious about these proposed cuts. They say it's cruel and unnecessary. They're vowing to fight tooth and nail to protect Medicaid. Even some Republicans are worried about the impact on their constituents. This budget battle is far from over, folks. The bill still has to go through the Senate, and that's a whole other can of worms. Stay tuned, because things are about to get even more interesting. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. Now let's go to commercial. We'll be right back with more news you can use. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates and news.